These are the new Mavic Comète cycling shoes, and they've been surrounded by quite a lot of hype since they were launched just a few weeks ago. Now, fortunately for us, Mavic have actually invited us out to their headquarters in Annecy, France, to see just what all the fuss is about. And we will be going right there just after we finish riding up the most incredible mountain road, the Col de Semnos, which is actually on their very doorstep. This is their headquarters. Now, Mavic is a very old, deeply historic cycling brand. In fact, they've been around for 128 years, and they've ushered in some of the key technological developments in the sport. And as you'll see behind me though, there are a number of other brands under the same roof, including sister companies Salomon and Arc'teryx, both of whom are massive in climbing and skiing and general outdoors. And that is quite important because shared office space means shared ideas, as we're going to see. You can tell by all the yellow and all of the wheels, to be fair, that this is definitely Mavic's side of the building. And here is our Comète Ultimate shoe. Now, it is causing a lot of hype for two reasons in particular. Firstly, this is a very, very high-level premium shoe. But then secondly, and perhaps more importantly, Mavic have actually got lab data to show that this could improve your cycling performance. And the way that they've achieved that is by taking a pretty new approach to cycling shoe design. So you've got this really rigid carbon frame here, and then you've got this soft, flexible inner bootie. If you're a cross-country skier, then that may well be more familiar to you. And you can tell from the table in front of me that this has been quite a lengthy process. It's not straightforward designing and making a carbon fibre shoe, not by any stretch of the imagination. But the first one, the very first one, is this one here. And although it's carbon fibre, there's no epoxy resin impregnated into it, so it's still really soft. So you don't get any kind of structural benefit. In fact, other than looking very cool, it doesn't do very much at all. So, hence why the rigid carbon frame was introduced. And it was a lengthy process, as I said, but this isn't even all of the prototypes, not by a long shot. We've got another 3 boxes right down there. But seeing as we're here at Mavic, perhaps we should take advantage and see just how this is made. Now, actual production of the shoes is off-site, but Mavic have the ability to make any product that they sell right here. So that means bespoke products for teams, for example, or prototypes. Lots of prototypes. Now, behind me, that man, Eddy, is in fact a prototypist by trade. So that makes him a real craftsman. He can turn his hand to just about anything. And right now, he's putting the finishing touches to another pair of shoes. This one here is where it starts life. So this is fresh out of the mold. As you can see, it's not exactly wearable. So Eddy has hand cut all of the framework out and then is now actually finishing the carbon by hand. And he tells us that originally it didn't come out of a mold. Actually, the carbon itself had to be wrapped by hand, and he was the person to do it. So he's been working on this project for quite some time now. A long way away from the carbon workshop, and we've come to this place here, which is where all the prototyping is done for clothing, and in this case, our inner booties for our shoes. So we've got the biomechanics looked after by our carbon frame, and now we're after some comfort. And behind me here, we've got Isabelle and Andrea, who are actually putting together a new pair of booties for pro rider Dan Martin. And we can see all the component pieces laid out on that table. It's obviously a very labour-intensive process. There's actually 14 different bits go into making up each bootie. And frankly, I haven't got a clue what any of them does, so I'm going to try and ask. Wish me luck. Bonjour. Qu'est-ce que c'est ça?
This is a reinforcement. It goes into the tongue, and it protects the foot from being hurt by the cables.
Okay. And so there's obviously an awful lot goes into each bootie. How long has it taken to get to this point where you've got the finished article?
About 4 hours.
4 hours?
Yeah.
And is there anything special you're doing for Dan for these ones?
Yeah, we made some modification for him to improve the comfort, and actually he was the one who proposed to change the material, the vamp material, to make it lighter and cooler. Now that should have given you some idea as to just how much labour has gone into these shoes. But a high-end shoe is all well and good, it actually needs to work. So we've brought you to the test lab where all of those prototypes have been put through their paces. Things like fatigue testing and impact testing. And then just over here is the stiffnessometer. And this man here, Duncan, has been overseeing the whole process of bringing this shoe to market. So this is a shoe getting tested for stiffness, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
More is better?
That depends. A lot of the pros obviously want the stiffest shoe possible on the market so they can get the best sort of acceleration and performance out of it. But we also have also the key factor we look at is the stability of the foot on the pedal.
Okay.
So with the carbon shell, we've been able to do this by having the carbon come up on each side, which obviously gives a better foothold.
Yeah.
And with testing this with the pros, we've been able to achieve a really high performance shoe.
In terms of the physiological claims that you guys have made about these shoes, how do you test for that? That's obviously not here in this kind of destruction testing environment.
These are, for the biomechanical aspect, this is tested in the other test lab where we've got a watt bike, and we've done a lot of testing with the pro riders and with amateur riders as well to get the best sort of average in terms of biomechanical gains out of the shoe.
Okay, can we go take a look at that?
Sure, no problem.
All right then. Now, I'm not entirely sure what I've signed up to here, but in the spirit of GCN, I am just going to roll with it. This is Nico, and you're the man who's been responsible for collecting all the physiological data about these shoes, is that right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so what's going on? I've got a load of electrodes stuck to my calf muscle, and is this the claim that the shoes actually reduce muscle activity in your calf muscle, so they effectively make you more efficient?
Exactly. That when you are pedaling, your muscles are using energy, and with the electrode, we can measure the electric activity of the muscles.
Yeah.
And the high electric activity corresponds to a high muscle consumption or high energy consumption. So if you are doing the same test at 250 watts, if you have less energy, less electric activity, your movement is more efficient because you use less energy for exactly the same power output.
And so how am I doing? So there's a really cool looking graph there. Can you see at a glance roughly how efficient my calf muscle is, or is it a very personal thing between rider to rider?
No, it's very personal. With the data, we can't say directly, oh, there is less activity. We have to make a lot of data analysis to say, okay, there is a difference or there is no difference. We have also to make many tests for one person and many tests with many persons. Okay,
and you're comparing it to the Cosmic Ultimate, which is the current top end one.
Exactly.
Okay, that's cool. And one of the other things that you said is that I would be getting about 4.5 watts more power output through the dead points on the pedal stroke. So how have you gone about testing for that as well?
So with the watt bike, we can record many data and also the power. And we find that especially on the dead point, you have a better crossing through the dead point.
So you pedal basically through the dead point?
Yeah, with the classic shoes, you push, you can pull, but there is less efficiency on the dead zone.
Yeah.
Okay? And with the Comète, we have more efficiency because we are able to apply more efficient power on the pedal.
And have you actually worked out why you're being able to measure these performance gains from the shoes? What actually is the part of the shoe that's responsible for that?
Okay, so it's not only due to only one parameter. You know that with the Comète Ultimate, we have a lower stack height.
Yeah.
We have a lower construction on the collar.
Uh-huh.
We have also a specific carbon shell with a very good stability, exactly. So it's not due to only one parameter, but it's a perfect combination of all these parameters.
Now, the last thing that I saw when you released the shoes was that actually, in a test you did, 70% of people perform better in a test to complete exhaustion when wearing these shoes. And I'm slightly concerned, Nico, that that's perhaps what you're about to make me do next. Is that true?
Yeah, maybe we can do a round test just to show you what's happened and if we can go better with the Comète shoe.
Right, I thought so.
Let's try it. So it's good, not as good as French guy, but it's okay.
Well, that is an all too brief look at the Mavic facility, but a great close-up behind the scenes on the development of these new Comète Ultimate shoes. Mavic are rightly proud of the work and the craftsmanship that has gone into them. And the interesting thing now is going to be to see just how this lab data translates out onto the open road. Before you leave this video, do make sure you subscribe to GCN. It's very quick, it's very simple, just click on the globe. And if you're after more videos now, and in fact you want some more info on these shoes, we've got a full unboxing of them, and that is just up there. Or if you want to have a snoop around another big brand headquarters, why not check out Canyons down in Koblenz in Germany. That's just down there.